Hello, welcome to our CES 2021 video all about rollable technology. Rollable phones, rollable TVs, they've been a big trend of CES 2021, one of the biggest tech shows in the world. Me and Henry St. Ledger, our TVs editor for Tech Radar, and I'm phones editor James Peckham. We're going to be talking a little bit about rollable tech in general and just what's happened this year. Henry, is it right to say that rollable's been one of the biggest talking points of CES in your opinion?
It's hard, possibly by default, because I feel like there's been a lot less on show at CES than we would have in a regular year. I think there have definitely been bigger CES events for rollables, at least in the television space. The last couple of CESs, we were seeing LG's Rollable OLED, which wasn't necessarily on show so much as a sort of bendable version using slightly different technology, but I think would probably come under the rollable category we're discussing. So I think it's definitely on everyone's lips, but I think we're at the point where rollable isn't quite being shown off for the first time in the TV space, and it hasn't quite arrived in a commercial sense in the way we would have liked by now. So I think the wave of hype has come down a bit, but I think people are still interested.
So for the complete novice, what is rollable tech in a TV space, and why is that useful to anyone?
Is it useful? We'll get on to that question later. But for the novice, a rollable television is a television that can roll. There is an LG Rollable OLED that can furl and unfurl, much like you would a carpet. You do need a sort of base station for it that it unfurls out of. But it looks very neat as a space-saving measure, or people who just don't want to look at a TV when you're not using it. There's definitely a use case for it. OLED panels being a lot thinner than LCD panels, it's a lot and more flexible. It's more easier to sort of twist and contort it into different shapes, which is sort of where this idea has come from.
Do you actually foresee this as something people will buy? Is this something for those with smaller apartments or smaller flats? Is this a suitable option for people, or is it still a little bit of a gimmick that you can't really imagine is actually going to be in many people's homes?
Hard to say at this point just because of how unavailable it is. So the LG Rollable OLED has technically come to market, but only in South Korea, and for what would equate to around $90,000, around £70,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have a tiny apartment but wads of cash lying around, it's perfect for you when it eventually comes to your country. But because of the mechanical parts needed and the experimental nature of the technology still, it is so far off being anything vaguely mainstream at the moment. It might be slightly different in the phone space, of course, but for TVs, it's a while before I'll be getting one in my living room.
Yeah, it's a similar sort of situation with the in the phone space. So another big trend of CES has been rollable phones. LG has teased its LG Rollable. It's something we've heard about for a while now from different teasers and a variety of patents. We've been seeing patents for what feels like years, probably only really months, but what feels like years now. So the LG Rollable was first shown off in the LG press conference. A very, very short, essentially a GIF of the screen contorting back down. Essentially, think of this as a sort of competitor to foldable phones. Really, that's why you're sort of going to be interested in this. It's essentially a way of making your phone screen bigger. If it's really got that much application in everyday life, we're not really sure yet, but again, it as Henry's saying about TVs, it seems like it's mostly about saving space in your pocket, giving you a smaller phone that then can turn into a tablet size device. It's also not just LG that we've seen these devices from. TCL has had a concept phone of this for a few years now, and they've been showing off more of their technology at CES, and they have hinted that they will be releasing either a foldable or a rollable phone in 2021. I don't expect that it will be a rollable phone. We don't know for certain. TCL have not commented on whether it would be foldable or rollable, but foldable phones are obviously available on the market already from competitors like Samsung, Huawei, a variety of different. Motorola even has one. So I'd more expect it to be a foldable phone coming from TCL, but we may see a rollable, one of their concept devices actually become a device in the near future. And then there's also a Oppo concept device, and I can't remember the exact name of it at the moment, but the Oppo rollable screen is also an option. They have not commercially made this available yet, but they're experimenting with that technology. So it seems to be another trend that's coming in phones after foldables. Exactly why it's going to differ from foldables isn't entirely sure yet, and why you'd want that instead of a foldable phone isn't entirely clear either. Similar sort of situation to TVs, I think.
Yeah, that was sort of going to be my question for you: is why would someone get a foldable rather than a rollable, and vice versa? Like, why would a manufacturer pursue one or the other?
At the moment, it seems very similar. I think essentially in terms of thickness is probably going to be one of the elements. When you've got a foldable phone, you've got those two elements that fold together. If you're looking at the Z Fold 2, it is a very chunky phone when you've got it sat in your pocket. Rollable technology could be a little bit slimmer, essentially, and maybe easier in that way. But again, you're looking at lots of mechanical parts inside. It's a slightly more complicated technology than foldable, from what I can tell anyway, from the outside. Exactly who this is for, we're not really sure. But at the same time, it's really, really cool. Like, it is that sort of thing that you see that moving, and you're like, oh, that's curious in that way. Again, we're probably going to be expecting extreme prices for these. We don't know anything for the LG Rollable, the TCL Rollable, the Oppo Rollable. If any of those devices come to market, we don't know how expensive they're going to be. But if foldable phones and rollable TVs has taught us anything, it's going to be expensive. The Galaxy Z Fold, the original one, was over £1,500 and nearing $2,000. So those are expensive devices in themselves. We're probably going to see a similar thing in rollable too. So, Henry, are there any other TV products that you want to talk about in the rollable and bendable space?
Yeah, so in terms of TVs, we haven't really been seeing any new rollable sets over CES. A few months back, I think in October, TCL did show off some footage of a sideways rollable TV prototype, which is a bit different from what LG is doing, but still so few details, no pricing, release date, really to go on for that. But what we did see at CES or in the days before was LG's bendable OLED, which doesn't quite roll up so much as can slightly change its form factor. It acts as a flat screen TV, but if you press literally at the press of a button, the form will sort of twist into a curved gaming monitor shape. So if you're someone who likes a curved monitor for gaming, but a flat screen for TV, or say one person in your house who likes one or the other and vice versa, there's a case for that. And it uses the LG's newest, not newest anymore, quite recent 48-inch OLED TV size. So it's going to be a little bit cheaper, a little bit smaller than some of the other LG sizes out there compared to the 65-inch screen used for the LG Rollable OLED. But it's still probably going to be somewhat pricey. But I'm excited about the bendable OLED specifically because the movement it does is quite small, but quite profound at the same time. And it feels like something that's much more likely to be produced at a mass scale or be at a price point that could, in the next couple of years, become somewhat affordable to some, rather than the rollable OLED, which still feels years and years away from the average home.
Do we have a price for that, for the bending one? Is it something that anyone can buy anytime soon, or is it still concept stage? Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, I feel... I don't think it's going to be years and years away. It seems somewhat workable, but no firm release date on it as yet that I'm aware of.
And TCL had some similar sort of products in the space as well, in the TV space?
Yes, the sideways rollable OLED that I mentioned, so they're definitely experimenting in the space. That doesn't seem they've got quite as far in LG in terms of bringing it to any market yet. But it looks like we might be getting to a point where flexible OLED form factors, much like in the TV space where you have quite a few players at the moment, in a few years you could have TCL, LG, and possibly one or two other manufacturers saying, okay, well, our flagship TVs aren't just good-looking TVs, they're TVs that you can use differently. They can come out of your ceiling or out of your floor or roll up into a scroll or whatever they'll be doing in 5 to 10 years' time. And that feels exciting just to be seeing some innovation in a space that has largely been about rectangles getting slowly thinner for the past decade.
Yeah. Is this more exciting than, say, higher resolutions in the TV space? Do you think this is where things are going to be going for the next 5 years? As you say, is it going to be moving away from making TVs thinner to making them more essentially malleable?
Yeah, I think we're starting to hit that turning point given how thin so many TVs today are. And I think we're getting to a point where 4K and 8K TVs are such accomplished resolutions where, whether or not you think 8K is worth it or not, 4K or 8K, you're getting a very sharp picture. And I think a lot of TV manufacturers are looking for other ways they can keep innovating and still stay interesting. I was told as much by a representative at Panasonic, because they've been leaning a lot into sort of non-picture features in terms of sound and gaming features and form factors. And I was told quite explicitly that the pitch is so good, and there are so many other areas where you can actually make meaningful changes within a couple of years, which, you know, says a lot to the quality of a picture you can get these days on a high-spec TV.
Okay, thanks, Henry. It sounds like a very similar situation in both phones and TVs, that this is technology that you're probably not going to be able to get anytime soon, but it is exciting, and it may be that we see this in the next couple of years become something that's actually in your pockets or actually in front of your sofa. Yes, I'm excited about Rollable's technology, but it's not going to be something you're able to buy straight away. Thanks for joining us for this video. Be sure to check out all of our coverage on Tech Radar. Everything we spoke about in this video has been covered on the site, and we've got everything that's happened at CES 2021 so far in our hub article as well. Be sure to comment down below about everything you expect from Rollable technology. We want to hear all of your opinions. Thanks for liking this video, and see you again soon.